Hi there. My name is Meredith White, and I am a Spanish teacher just outside of Atlanta in Gwinnett County. I am super excited. We've got about 30 minutes. I'm probably going to go a little bit over because I get really excited about Instagram, to talk about Instagram, social media in the world language classroom in general, but specifically Instagram. Instagram is probably my favorite platform for social media in the classroom. And I have had a class Instagram page for my Spanish 1 and Spanish 2 students for about 7 or 8 years now. So this is not a new endeavor for me, and I've used it in a lot of different ways. So I'm excited to share that with you. If you immediately armor up, as Brene Brown says, and go, absolutely not, I'm not engaging with students on social media. It's 2020. Lady, are you crazy? I totally understand that. You don't have to engage with students. It can also be a really cool creation tool. So if you immediately go, nope, swipe into the next session, hear me out, because I think you might see some things that, if you're not familiar with Instagram, might not have gotten your juices flowing. But we as world language teachers are naturally very creative people, I think, in my humble opinion. So I think you'll see some things that you enjoy, that you think would engage students. And that's what the Global Seal and this entire event are all about, is how are we engaging students? How are they not just seeing language acquisition as language learning? I have to take a language class and I have to get credit for these particular courses. How are we getting them to engage with the language and with the world around them? Because they are not the leaders of tomorrow. They're the leaders of today. Students are doing things, I teach high school, so students are doing things right now every day that are causing them to lead and engage with the world. So how are we as their language teachers kind of opening different doors, or figuring out which doors they want us to open and then leading them towards there to engage with language and engage with other people and get those skills and those biliteracies or multiliteracies that we know are really important? I think Instagram can be a pretty cool tool. So I call this Instagram a la mode. You're going to see a lot of different modes represented here, or not, I should say a lot because there's only a few, but you're going to see all three: the interpretive, the interpersonal, and the presentational modes represented, I should have said, in a lot of different ways. So kind of wrap your mind around that. And in the speaker notes, you have access to these slides. So please take all of the information involved in the speaker notes. I have linked lots of things there for you for further perusal, ideas, screenshots of things, lots of things that we won't get to in our time together. So at the bottom here is the link. Naturally, right now it's covered by the little gray bar because it's 2020. And it's just going to keep being covered by the gray bar, I'm sure, for a while now. But at the bit.ly/global seal Meredith are these slides. So you have complete access to this presentation. Again, the speaker notes is where all of the good stuff is. So I've tried to keep the display of the slides very simple. And then in the speaker notes, additional information if you're interested. If not, ignore the speaker notes. And if you're not familiar on how to access the speaker notes, when you get into the slideshow, if you're not familiar with Google Slides, you'll have the full slide on display and all the little thumbnails of other slides on the left. At the very bottom, you'll see 3 very faint gray dots. Just drag those up a little bit, and then you'll be able to see the speaker notes. So those speaker notes are not for me. They are for you. I like them as a discrete way to put other things that don't make the slides too wordy or too text heavy or too image heavy, I should say. So here we are. That's me. Here I am. I think it's mirrored. I can't tell which way I'm pointing. It's fine. Again, it's 2020, right? So when we look at Instagram, I'm going to move my face here because I think I'm covering things. Oh, and my computer's freezing because it's 2020. It froze all this morning as well during our lesson today. So, what a time to be alive. When I think about proficiency-based world language teaching, I see all of the things above that I've listed. So authenticity, organization, technology, of course, here we are, right? Teaching. I'm in my classroom, but I'm teaching online and in person, as well as planning and advocacy. And within advocacy, I include all of those, I think of all those representation pieces of, how are we teaching not just non-racist lessons, but anti-racist and anti-bias, and getting students not thinking that our class is just berets and tacos and Cinco de Mayo, or however we've Americanized things for worse, not for better. Also, how are we portraying these different stories? Are we just saying this group of people does this thing, or here's what everyone in this place looks like? We can't do that. No one is a monolith, and no single story represents an entire country, community, culture, household. So when we look at all of these things together, Instagram gives us a window into other cultures and also allows us to use that window also as a mirror to turn our own reflections into like very representative teaching. So with the authentic resources that are available on Instagram by real people just Instagramming in your target language, you can now get that authenticity using that technology to help you plan different lessons and different talking points that then advocate for both the language and the cultures represented. And we know all of those things have intersectionality. For me as well, it's an organizing piece, because if I'm going to take the time to find that image or find that post, showcase it in some way, I also want to be able to organize it. And so I can do that with Instagram as well. And I'll show you. All of these things to me make up proficiency-based world language teaching, because it has to be led with culture, and it has to be led with emotion. Language will follow. And once we get that culture, language, just beautiful overlap, which it just should always be, we can get away from some of those perceptions that people have of what we do and of what students are learning, which is what the seal is all about. It's a skill, and now we can call that exactly what it is and exactly what students are able to do, which is really cool. And it's literally at their fingertips, right? Instagram lives on the phone. So Instagram is an app for iPhone, Android, whatever kind of phone that students or instructors have. And basically what you can do is you can do a number of different things. And I'm going to go through here. All of these things also are represented in the core practices. So when we think of the ACTFL 6 core practices, I'll move my face over here somewhere, literally anywhere. When we have these 6 core practices, if we're going to take that app, and how do we apply, if I'm being punny, how do we apply that app into language teaching and language learning? We oftentimes talk about teaching. But the bigger conversation, which Tom Welch from Kentucky, who's incredible, always pushes us to think about, but what about the learning? Teaching doesn't guarantee learning. And can we learn without being taught something? To a degree, yes. So how are we focusing on the learning? And the core practices allow us to do that, because it's what can be done. How do our practices fit under these 6 sort of frameworks, not frameworks, but like categories of teaching. And they're not method specific, and they're not teacher specific. They're not best practices. They're just the core things that we want to focus on as language teachers. I think you'll see that Instagram will help us really do those, because it does help with grammar as a concept, in context, also target language, also, like I was saying, those authentic resources. So all of those things come into play here. I'm not going to play this video because, of course, you have access to this presentation, but I put together a year ago, or maybe 2, a presentation on sort of the why and then the how behind using mostly Snapchat, but a lot of it applies to Instagram as well. We have several class social media accounts. The one I use the most is Instagram. So feel free to peruse this video if you want to check it out. What's nice about videos is you can go back, repeat, pause, play, etc. And also in the speaker notes, I've attached some additional reading, just if you're interested. Or if you feel like you have to justify to department or administration why it is you want to engage in social media with your students. At my school, it's kind of the norm. Every sports team has an Instagram account. Every club has an Instagram account, and a lot of them are student run or, run by the coach or whatever. So there's a lot of engagement there on social media. At my school, it's completely part of the culture. We're in a large metro Atlanta school. And so it's not taboo and it's not weird anymore. So that's my context. Instagram, as I was saying, is an app. And when we look at logistically, I'm going to try and move my face here if it'll let me. It's not, but it is. Okay. Instagram is an app. And what I've put here is the 2 main functions within the app. You've got 2 things happening. So it's similar to Facebook in a way. and to Twitter now in a way, because as of very recently, Twitter has like a more of kind of a micro post feature called fleets, and then they have tweets. So tweets are a little bit longer living, more of a shelf life. The fleets are only there for 24 hours. So Instagram, similar to a Facebook story and a Facebook post, Instagram has a story and a post. Your posts are going to live on, not forever, but if you delete them or whatever. But the posts are kind of where you showcase things that you definitely want students to see. So you can say, look in my posts, look in my recent posts. It's what stores do, brands, bloggers, vloggers, influencers, like people with a social media presence have posts. Or if you just want to share things from your life with your family, you can just post them and they live there forever. And that's down here. I'm going to put my little pointer on. That's down here below the bio and the stories. So these photos are from the spring. This is a screenshot from the spring. These are my posts. This was just going on a walk. It was like March. And we're like, what are we doing? We're out of school. The world's seemingly on fire. Not really sure what to do here. So I was going on a lot of walks to keep my sanity, and coming across like turtles in the road in my neighborhood and very strange things. So I was like posting about any kind of language I could get to my students, because what are we doing? So I should update that screenshot. And so these posts are kind of living on. They're a little bit more permanent in a sense. The stories post to your profile for 24 hours, unless you also want them to live under a little story category right here. So I have some with some authentic resources from COVID when it first started. If you feel like that's inappropriate, I totally hear you. I know some teachers have gone back and forth. I just thought some of the infographics and health department resources that were being put out were really interesting. And again, our students aren't novice thinkers. They're novice language acquirers. So when they're seeing that, they're making connections and they're learning about COVID in the same, moment. So I understand if it's like, that's traumatic, but also, I was also putting some of the Bitmojis. All of a sudden, Bitmoji had updates, and my phone's in the target language, so my Bitmojis are as well. And so Bitmoji had COVID-19 Bitmojis as well. Wash your hands, use disinfectant, stay home, like air hugs, all those kind of things. So I've got some up here according to either unit or just what category I think it fits under, like eating, playing sports, being an individual. And I've also got some that some might find more controversial, but again, why? But I understand why, but I'm just not in a place like that yet. So I've also got some advocacy ones where I have an LGBTQ story. I have a Black Lives Matter story, as you can see there, and also one that's dedicated towards like Afro-Latino posts. So sort of a branch off of Black Lives Matter, but like, let's look at Black Spanish speakers in different places. And so there's a really cool poster who does like the hidden history of, or the Black history of Cuba, and really kind of shining a light on these stories that we're not just not telling, but we're avoiding telling and we're excluding. Those are much stronger verbs than just, oh, we didn't get to it. But why? That was intentional. So exposing some of my students to that. Again, full transparency. I have not had anybody say anything to me. I wouldn't be surprised, but until they do, here I am. I want to be an advocate for all of my students, and I believe very strongly in having those conversations if we're really educating students. So these stories can live up here. These are temporary, unless you say, go ahead and pin them under this category. Then they live there until you get 100. So I'm going to log in here and I'll show you in a sec. So you've got posts, you've got stories. Within those, or for those posts, for those stories, you can create content. The days of like sitting on YouTube with the vocab list when YouTube first came out, or even now with a vocab list, or you're finding that perfect Quizlet set because you just want to save yourself some time. And I would always end up spending more time trying to find the perfect resource than just make the perfect resource. So Instagram also has these filters, as you can see, beard, hair, very similar to Snapchat. These pictures are interchangeable for Instagram and Snapchat both, where your Bitmoji or like your little avatar can be doing something, or you can just put on a filter of like hair, different things doing that aren't obviously on your face, but It looks like they are. So you can create your resource. You don't have to engage with students. You could make photos like this and then put them up on, project them on the slide in the Zoom, embed them into an assignment, and then have your students do what they would normally do with other pictures you would have found, or different resources you would have used. So like, describe the picture. What are these people doing? What happened next? Who knows? Whatever it is you're trying to portray. Scenes from a story, if you're telling something in a story context, and they can be videos as well. So instead of trying to find the perfect resource, you can create it. I'm going to go ahead and show you as an example. Netflix has a share function where you can share Netflix series. Like you can text them to a friend and say, hey, have you seen this? But one of the share options is also Instagram. If your phone's in the language like mine is, you'll see here, trial 4, I think is what it's called in English, trial 4. In Spanish is el cuarto juicio, like the fourth judgment, the fourth trial. And this is the picture that Netflix automatically generates when you say, Netflix, I'd like to share this on Instagram from the app. So because my phone's in the target language, it's automatically going to make a picture of that series. And on Instagram, I can put a little caption. I can put some scaffolding. I can say what themes are happening in this particular series. And I can add a sticker that says, I recommend. I just trick students into reading, maybe browsing something on Netflix, and also just kind of interacting with me in terms of kind of our relationship and what I'm putting out there. Same thing. I got a text from my husband, so I covered his name and put Senor Blanco, like Mr. White, because he was texting me going to get ice cream on Sunday. And I was like, yes, ice cream. We do ice cream on Sundays. And so that's literally what I said, like, because on Sundays we eat ice cream. And I can tag el helado. My level 1 students right now know that we just finished a food unit. And so they're like, helado. All the emojis are able to support it. They're like, oh, ice cream. I know some of them for sure clicked because you can, because why not? They're probably like, And what's going to come up is native speakers posting with the words helado, with the word helado. And that's basically just what I said here on Twitter was I've stopped searching for the perfect resource. I just started making them. I already had those things on my phone. I already had Netflix and a text from my husband. Thank goodness for the ice cream. So why not use them as an opportunity for language learning for my students? Because we can't always just wait for opportunities. Every interruption in class, pre-COVID, everything is an opportunity for more language. We can also create some of those opportunities. This is another Netflix screenshot here from Time to Eat with, and I haven't heard her name pronounced, so Nadia or Nadia. Hopefully I'm not, or Nadia. Hopefully I'm not mispronouncing that, but there are 3 options there. And I believe she won maybe the Great British Bake Off. But Netflix, again, this is the photo that they generate when you want to share her show from the Netflix app and you choose share on Instagram. It's going to automatically generate an image that you can then save to your device and use however you want. So if you've got, a hobby unit or you're just descriptions and you're asking students what it is they like to do, like, do you like to watch TV? Oh, what do you like to watch on TV? This type of program or this type of program. You could have some images or use a description. So-and-so is athletic. He or she plays whatever. And they love crime, shows. Which of the following would so-and-so probably choose? You could have some images and just use it as an interpretive reading because students had to read what that person likes, does, and then pick out a show accordingly. Pretty cool. Same thing with content here. This was just a salad we made at home, and I just put a little caption on there like, oh, a salad with cherries and nuts and super fresh, delicious for my level 1s, level 1s and 2s. I know that these words are all words we've been using. This is not Yelp, but it is, I can't remember the name, DoorDash, I think, is this app. So any kind of food delivery app or transportation app like Uber Eats, if your phone's in the language, those applications will also be in the language. So you can screenshot like places you're actually going, things you're actually doing. I've taken screenshots of like Uber Eats deliveries and just boop, 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 erased my address, which is really easy. And I'm like, oh, like this one, tengo hambre, I'm hungry. And I want to go, this was in Milwaukee, so I don't mind that this address is exposed, but when it was my address, I blocked it out. We wanted to go, you're on the wait list. And so I put here some scaffolding, lista de espera, wait list. And then in front of you, 18 groups, but I'm hungry. So this was a couple years ago. Again, just as an example. One thing you can also do for creating content is post videos that you've made. And I've got a couple of resources here if you're interested, a couple of apps, and then one website. So to not only find that content via Netflix and share. So right now I'm talking about Instagram as like a sharing tool and as a little bit of a creation tool, because I did these captions on Instagram and did this little circle on Instagram as well. So I added, do you like to cook? And then pushed it out to students like in individual posts. But if you want to enrich your content that you're creating, there are video options too. One of them is the Cliptomatic app. Cliptomatic will automatically, let me see, this might be muted. Beautiful. It'll automatically add captions or add subtitle, like captions, I think is a better word, add captions to the video that you're creating. So you can see as it's playing, which I've got, of course, by the time I get it rigged up to show you and muted, there it goes. This was me. I was at home eating Chinese leftovers, and I had just finished them when my husband walked in and was looking for them because he had been looking forward to them. So this was me saying, do not say anything, students. Shh, and I was making this video because we were in the food unit. So I wanted them to see, comida china. And so I added some scaffolding here where I gave them I said. It's level 1. They haven't seen I said. And so then I've got the captions. So what Cliptomatic does is you tell it what language you're speaking, and as you're talking, it gives you captions. So I'm saying, oop, here comes, my husband walked in right at that moment. And I was like, no, I haven't seen the Chinese food. I ate it all. This one was along the same lines. Let me mute this as well. This was along the same lines. I was talking about what I like to eat besides the leftovers. And so I just stepped out in the hallway and said, I like to eat da-da-da-da-da. So I'm able to save these videos on my phone with the Cliptomatic app. The app is called Cliptomatic, and that's in the speaker notes. And then push them out on Instagram. I can add questions. I can make them into a poll, informal, formative, just engaging with students in the language, tricking them into reading, and also increasing our relationship or enhancing our relationship at the same time. I can use these videos later in an assessment, and I did. This video that I pushed out on Instagram then became our interpretive listening and reading with the captions, right? At the same time, tricking them into both on one of our quizzes. And so I just added some questions that were like open-ended, do we like any of the same foods, whatever, in Spanish. And if they are engaging in ways that I'm making available, like on the class Instagram, they don't have to follow the account. But if they do, they're also seeing some sneak peeks. It's like when stores have sales and they're like, shh, you're on our email list. You get 25% off today only. And you're like, yep, don't mind if I do. Don't know if that's true. Don't know if it's helpful, but it's still some insider access that's actually super accessible to all. So this video having been on Instagram, I had a couple students go, is this supposed to be the same video? We've already seen this. Yes. And because you engaged in these other ways and you opened yourself up and you're, willing to make this language experience part of just your daily life experience, you got a little insider info, right? You get the sale code, you get the promo code. And that's kind of how I see engaging. I don't keep track of who likes what and who does what and who comments on what. It's just purely enjoyment. When we do the thing we've done with reading, which is commonly referred to as read-a-side. We've killed the love of reading because we started making logs and tracking it and doing all these things that makes it feel like work. And now instead of just reading and buying things at the book fair and enjoying it, kids don't want to do that. They're like, this is annoying. I have to read 100 minutes a week for what? Or I can only read from these certain books, but I don't like these books. I like these books. And we know that the science supports reading what you like, even if it's below your level, even if it's above your level, but you're trying it. Read what you like. And so for this, I see the same thing. Engage or don't. Watch it or don't. But I consistently have a few hundred followers looking at most of the posts most of the time. So kids are engaging even years after the fact. They'll drop in and say hi, oh my God, Senora, I understood almost all of this. and they're in their 20s now. We've had the account for, like I said, 7, 8, 9 years. So I count that as a win. So Instagram is just a way for me to get some more wins. When thinking about Cliptomatic, that app that I mentioned, Cliptomatic, that does the captions, I'm also able to insert its content onto my like virtual locker or virtual learning spaces. So we started learning 2 weeks online before we phased students back in. And so here we are with like an introduction to me. And I did that. I pushed that on Instagram, encouraged them to follow it, new students. And then I also inserted that video into my virtual locker. This video saying like, different things I like was also part of one of our first assessments. So again, if they're engaging in more spaces, it's like, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here. And all of the things can trick them into more repetition. And if they're sitting around somebody, here's that advocacy piece. They're like, oh, yeah, mom, look, my teacher posted. Oh, she likes clothes. Oh, wow. Oh, that's right. She likes dogs. That's right. Their parents are going, how did you understand all that? Like, oh, well, I know it now, or she posted it before, or I don't know, it's not hard. Like whatever kids are saying, it's like, oh, okay. Are they doing that with other classes? Are they like, oh, mom, hold on, I have some chemistry. Maybe, but maybe not. Our content is so applicable all the time. We're really hard pressed once I get out of my little bubble of like, it has to look like this. I realize, oh no, I could do anything. And then I get a little bit overwhelmed with all the options, but these are just some of the options. Okay. So if this doesn't look exciting, but Cliptomatic's cool, go for it. Hand in hand, Instagram can help with some of those things as well. Another tool to create your own content. So Cliptomatic, right? You can push it out via Instagram. Another thing you can push out via Instagram are just images or screenshots or seemingly screenshots of text messages. So looking at custom and reusable content here that you can use on Instagram, add things, add scaffolding, and then use in class, or they just live on Instagram. You're able to make fake conversations with ifaketextmessage.com. So this one is from Nikki Jam, one of my favorite musical artists. We are madly in love. Mostly one-sided, mostly me, but whatever. It's fine. Don't tell Senor Blanco. But I always try to get my kids to think it's like that he is Senor Blanco. They never do. Actually, some are on the fence. We live in Atlanta, and there's like a lot of music here, and there's sort of like a mini Hollywood, and they're like, I feel like it could be real, though. And I'm very mysterious. I don't tell them anything about my personal life. So they're like, I feel like she's up to something. So I like that. Keep them on their toes, right? So with iFake text message, you can craft an entire message just back and forth and then have students do a number of things, right? Like precede the conversation, write the conversation that came first, write the conversation that followed. What's the relationship between these people? What do their plans tomorrow look like? And again, because it's a text, you've tricked kids into reading. This is probably a couple of paragraphs worth. But when you hand them a couple paragraphs, they're like, ugh, okay. Some go, yeah, whatever, no problem. Others totally check out. But when it's just text, they're reading all day. Kids who say they don't like to read are reading Snapchat, reading comments, writing comments. They're literally reading and writing all day long. So how can we kind of meet them in some literacies that are familiar, and not only familiar, also comfortable? So ifaketextmessage.com allows you to make some of those fake text messages, and then you can push them out on Instagram. They can be posts, they can have questions. You could use a poll feature. Once you learn the ins and outs of Instagram, so I totally recommend that you tinker around and experiment. You'll see all kinds of different things. If you follow our account, which I'll show you here in a sec, PRHS Spanish, you can see kind of what I've done, and maybe that'll give you some ideas too. So you don't have to think of all the things yourself. Totally use anything that you like that I've posted as an example. And this is one creation tool. Textingstory.com is another app. It's the third of 3 I said I would mention. And you can do the same thing where you create the text message conversation, but it's a video instead of a still image. And so instead of being just a picture of the text message, it's like actually showing how people typed out different messages. So it shows every keystroke. So if you delete, 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 and respond differently, it's going to show that. So you can craft an entire, this is again, Nikki Jam, texting me, the usual. Me and Nikki Jam texting back and forth. And you can see how I typed out the whole conversation, but it just looks like one person's texting at a time, right? So that's pretty cool. Again, that's a video that then lives on your phone. You can push out to Instagram. You can send students to Instagram if you want to be able to see it, or it can just live there for the ones who follow the class Instagram as extra. When they follow it, you also don't have to follow them back. So there's no weird student whatever. You could also just push these videos out, add some questions or add captions, add helpful things, and disable comments. So now you're not worried about students commenting anything inappropriate that looks poorly, that reflects poorly on you. And you're not following students back, so you're avoiding pretty much all student interaction except for them seeing your resources as interpretive, which is pretty cool. So you can control the experience a little bit more than it probably seems. Okay, so 3 resources to create content in Instagram or elsewhere: Cliptomatic, iFake text message, and texting story. Again, those are all in the speaker notes. If you want to send students to, let's say, an authentic resource account, I teach Spanish, so El Corte Inglés is a huge department store all throughout Spain. And if I want to use Anne-Marie Chase's awesome rubrics, there are interpretive rubrics for that, and hers are some of them. She's a complete rock star. And so I have linked here in the speaker notes her interpretive rubrics. They focus on what students can understand, not what they, like how many of our comprehension questions they got right, or what it is that we've decided is important that they can find. So many times, again, we kill the love of exploring when it's like, and answer these 75. Oh my goodness. Imagine if you wanted to like watch some YouTube cooking videos or some home improvement things to fix some things around your house, especially in quarantine. We were all learning to bake bread, apparently. I know we were at my house. And, imagine if you started looking at those and then someone handed you like homework. You're like, no, I was just browsing for fun. I didn't. Or that person at store, when you go, no, just looking, thanks, keeps following you. And it's like, but we have this. It's annoying. You're like, just want to do my thing. Just browsing the sales section. Thank you. It's that same kind of feeling. So her rubrics are great because they're open-ended. You can send kids to an account. Find El Corte Inglés on Instagram. Any posts, look at any individual things. Tell me what you understood. Tell me some main ideas of some posts. Go for it. They can explore all these different accounts of businesses, travel bureaus, like, visit Ecuador, visit Chile, visit France. All of these major things are working on branding. It's 2020. They all have accounts that are going to be appropriate, informative, and visually really beautiful, especially the tourist ones. So no longer are we like, oh, guys, look at Paraguay. And the only pictures, like the really tacky textbook ones with like people 20 years ago, like, hey, not appealing. People have there are jobs for that now where someone's like finding the nicest restaurants in Paraguay and the prettiest beaches or the whatever. And we can then illuminate places and really tell stories that want to be told, and that don't perpetuate some of these tropes. Like, people in this place are poor, but they're happy. They don't have much, but they have each other. Really, really harmful if that's the only picture, and often it is, that students see of Uruguay, Honduras. If you only ever show France and you teach French, even though like over 80% of Africa speaks French, if we're not illuminating these places, it is avoiding them, and it is eliminating stories, not just ignoring. So again, a little less passive of a verb. It's 2020. All of those places, again, have literally like a millennial somewhere in an office that's like, ooh, bam, 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 editing photos, making them like bright and airy and beautiful. Use them. Use all those pictures. On Instagram itself, all you have to do, I'm going to pop over to our Instagram here. On Instagram itself, all you have to do here is just search. So let's say I want to look up that El Corte Inglés account. There it is. I've got some options here. So I'm going to do this first one just because I know that's the account. But I didn't realize they also had El Corte Inglés kids. We're going to go El Corte Inglés, the English cut. Again, department store in Spain. Here are their stories and here are their posts. So their posts are a little bit more permanent living. It's also really interesting to see the representation or lack thereof. Like the first 3 people in this page are very light skin, light eyes, very white presenting. And so it's also the first 4 people. It's also really interesting to see the representation or lack thereof. That's also a conversation starter. So if there are accounts you do like, do follow, or don't, they're probably going to have a mix of people as well as stuff. So if you don't want to portray their lens, whatever their agenda may be, you can also just show the stuff and the places. It can be a beautiful place for travel pictures. On the stories here, you've got like only in Corte Inglés, ideas de, and I don't want to click on this because it'll go away, but I'm assuming that re is regalo, so gift ideas. And all these different kind of like themed ones, decorating or a certain day, right? All those different things. So all of these accounts on your phone, I'm on a browser, of course, but on your phone will show culture, right? Clothing, holidays, celebrations, technology, home goods, like all of these different things based on the place that it's from or based on who's posting, right? So you can go there, you can screenshot those and then make some questions the same way you'd use any kind of image. It's just now going to have authentic captions and it's going to have authentic comments because if you can keep them appropriate, if you can, obviously you go through and check, this itself can just be a screenshot. And now here, this actual person commented 2 hours ago, and I can't see the rest of it, that no one, maybe this one's like a little bit controversial, but it's like, hopefully, like, that no one, whatever takes away or ruins or erases the, magic, the illusion, the whatever of Christmas. Like everything's just darling. Everything's adorable. That would be great if you don't feel like that's controversial for the happy holidays versus Merry Christmas, all those kind of things. But if you find some appropriate ones, screenshot these. Cute. Bellísimo, Feliz Navidad, éxitos y mucha salud, whatever. Salud, Feliz Navidad. So this is a great one. These are really positive. Que bonito. Novice learners can I might actually screenshot this when I come back. Novice learners can understand that. Oh, how pretty. That's all the people are saying. Now, like native speakers are creating like content for you just by existing. What's more authentic than that? And then I can either post that like in my account, or again, I can create my own posts and you can totally explore those. I realized on this day that everything was like, I have everything in like red and teal. And so that's what was my caption. Like, apparently I have everything in the same 3 colors. At least everything coordinates, right? I have a lot of teachers that follow this page, but it's not a teacher page. It's just for my students. So they're able to see how I'm using language for my students. So there's no like, get this resource here. It's like literally just me talking to my high schoolers. And I try to make the photos like look nice, obviously totally appropriate. I never show, I show students' faces, but they do have permission. And other than that, it's really just a lot of like life circumstance and just me kind of out and about doing various activities. So do check out those rubrics because once you send them to an account, again, not like you want to make it work, but if you can make it extra credit or make it something they can engage in. Leslie Gran also has a lot of different photos that you could push out via Instagram and really enhance and do things with. Her Pinterest is, as you can see at the top, pinterest.com/Gran for Lang. And she's got not language or level specific boards on all these different themes. This is like A to G. She has the rest of the alphabet. They're all alphabetized. So you find some good ones. Down here, like friendship, and there's infographics and different things about friendship and relationships. Once you've got that, boop, pop it into Instagram. Again, add what you want, circle what you want, make a caption, make it a post. Now it's available to your students, just like it's available from whatever the original resource was. If it's being pumped out from, again, travel bureau, a brand, you can give them credit and use it to your benefit in the same in one fell swoop. So her Pinterest board is really, really great for finding lots of resources. And I am going to make sure that you have Yeah, there we go. You also have access to this too. One other thing that you can do, and I'm going to pause for a second and grab one of these books, is you also can use chat books. So if this feels like really a lot for Instagram, download the app, create a username, something neutral if you want it to be a teacher account, or just something random and you can just kind of lurk and use the resources and never interact with people. Also totally fine. Once you download it, tinker around, figure out the functions, find us, find my account, because you'll see a lot of different uses modeled. If you want to elevate it, maybe you already have a class Instagram or you already know how Instagram works and you just want to figure out how to use it for class and you've already got ideas. One actual physical resource that you can then use is Chatbooks. Chatbooks is an app that connects to your Instagram account, and every 60 posts orders you a book of your pictures. So I'm in my classroom. I'm going to pause this for a sec. I'm going to bring back a couple of Chatbooks. Okay, and we're back. So like I said, I'm here physically in my classroom, and these are, like I said, physical books. They're just like the ones shown there in the picture. Chat books take your Instagram posts and make them into physical, tangible books. So now all that work you took finding those pictures, oops, I think we have an internet problem. No, we're okay. All right, we froze for a sec there. Now, all that work that you went to, making pictures, finding different things, doing captions, now also live physically in your classroom. This is great for a classroom library. If you want to make like just a book of memes, if you want to just increase relationships, right? It's classroom culture. Kids literally, I'm like, oh, grab a book, like look through the Instagram books. And they're like, Instagram books? What was that? They're already like, that we have a class Instagram. Then they're like, double, like mind blown that there are like albums. And I think it also preserves that thing. I'm getting to be an old fuddy-duddy, but I love pictures. I love physical pictures. And I just like to pull out physical pictures instead of like, oh, scrolling through. I find that hard. You know, you're talking to a family member like, oh, how was your trip? Hold on, let me get the album. Not always my favorite. So I love that we have a running record of, these are 2015, the ones I grabbed, of, like I said, roughly 7, 8, 9 years of a class Instagram page, which is really cool. So I've got some memes in there. These are still on the account. So once you scroll back far enough, you can see them all, but they also now live in my classroom, just in physical photos. There was one too. Oh, even just the projector, the projector's too hot message. I just take pictures of anytime I see Spanish. I'm like, yes, yes. If you're on a trip, right? Instead of coming back with that big suitcase of garbage that we've all taken, like an empty suitcase to bring back authentic resources. Now you can take pictures of them and they can live like in a different way. So you might have a Spain book, a Costa Rica book, a Puerto Rico book. Mine are by like time period, but you could curate them a certain way if you wanted to, very cheaply. They are currently, I believe, $10, 60 pictures per book. And mine are just automatically set to my debit card. So every time I get 60 pictures, it emails like, hey, you ready for that book? Okay, it's on the way. And I get them shipped to school. So literally every time I have one, it just ends up in my mailbox at school. Super convenient. I add it to my library, go through it with my kids. I could even make each album like a scavenger hunt, right? To answer some questions or whatever. Not that I want to make reading and Instagram work, but if you had to do something with them to justify them, that's something you could do. Again, for extra credit or whatever, make it a little bit extra initiative-y / need some different kind of motivation maybe. That way it's not more work for the teacher, like, oh, I got to do it all. So those, I know that's the fast, dirty, like 40-minute version of how I use Instagram in class. Please find our account. I'm going to go back here. Please find our course page. We are at PRHS Spanish. And there are just lots of posts. You can see what kind of things I say on the photos, questions I pose. You can go all the way back and just keep rocking and rolling and see all kinds of different content and hopefully get your creative juices flowing and get some ideas and join me on this journey of Instagram in the classroom. Like I said, 7, 8, 9 years, somewhere around there, going strong. If you want to use it purely as a creation tool, please explore those features and don't hesitate to reach out either. In the first slide up here in the speaker notes, I've got all of my contact information. So please shoot me an email. I'll put it, let's see, where did I put it? Is it here? No, it's nowhere. I'll put it in there. I will put in my my website, my email address. So please contact me if you have any questions, just want to hang out on Zoom and screen share and, explain Instagram, just the kind of nuts and bolts. But they have some really great videos on their app too. When you first download it, there are lots of how-to videos and on the website as well. Okay. Thank you so much for coming to C.R.E.D 2020. I'm excited, and I'm going to go watch the other sessions now here in a sec.